My name's Lawrence Scarpa. I'm an architect partner with Pugh and Scarpa. We're a firm of approximately 20 people. We do a whole variety of different work. We basically will do anything. We'll do a doghouse if you let us do it well. So we do everything from single-family homes to large institutional work. We've got a couple museums that we're working on now, single-family home, a public parking garage, a new school, and so we do a lot of different things. We're this year's 2010 American Institute of Architecture Firm Award recipient. What is architecture? Yeah, I know, that's a tough question. It's a broad question that you could answer a lot of different ways. I think architecture is really about people. It's like for people, and it's unlike anything else where you're actually making places for people. And our work focuses on really making memories, making experiences. We're more interested in creating those than creating buildings. So our hope is that one may not remember what our buildings look like, but they'll never forget being there. Yeah, I think the role of the architect today is really diminished, and it's been diminishing over time for 1,000 years or more. There was a point where architects were not just the architect, but the artist, the builder, the urban designer. We did everything, and then slowly over time we became more risk averse. We didn't want to take chances, and so contractors and engineers now do a lot of things that architects used to do. I think, in my opinion, we're best suited to do all of those kind of things. And I think we need to change how we educate younger students for more collaborations. When I went to school, it was just seen not good to collaborate with other people. It was you were seen as a failure as an architect if you were not a good designer. And I think our profession is so big, it's so complex, it requires a lot of skills that we're good at, but we're not really trained to do very well. I think there's just a perception that we need to be designers, and I think things like materials and methodologies, construction technology, project management, rendering theory, there are a whole host of things, acoustics, lighting, that architects are great at doing, that we need those skills, and I think it's okay to do those and be good at them. You don't always have to be the designer to be great as an architect, and I think until we need a real paradigm shift in education, and until that happens, I think our role is going to continue to diminish. What I try to do in our work is I get bored really easily, so doing the same thing over and over is just a personal thing that I can't do very well. So I'm constantly reinventing or looking at new ways to see things. But what I've become really intrigued with is not, so to speak, inventing something, but kind of uncovering things that already exist, telling a story about something that's already there. It's almost like discovery, so we tend to look for materials or things that are right in front of our face. For example, this cloth, how could it be used as a building material? We've done things with brooms, with ping pong balls, with Dixie cups. We try to kind of find the extraordinary within the ordinary. And so, for me, that has a lot of power because those things are familiar. I think about like what Venturi wrote in Complexity and Contradictions, when he said a familiar thing seen in an unfamiliar way becomes both perceptually old and new at the same time. So there's a story already embedded there that you don't have to invent. It's really just uncovering that story and telling it in a unique way. Yeah, I think networking's important because it makes things available to you that you wouldn't otherwise do so. But I think collaborations are more important, and as a profession, we just haven't done enough of that. And I think even more so, creative collaborations, I think, are important, and I believe produce great results. But there's still, at least in this country, a perceived problem with that, even from the people who hire you, because they think, oh, there's two designers, like who's responsible? Who am I going to sue if things go wrong, you know? So we tend to, in this country, want one person that we can look at, and I think we get a lot better results if we could accept more readily collaborations which put together, you know, experts in particular parts, and the architect really is the guy who manages how those things how they go together. Well, I have particularly embraced the computers. I mean, I don't know, when I went to school, I never used the computer. They just weren't, they were on the tail end, you know, but well, I remember one big 8-inch floppy disk. There were no even three-dimensional programs, but I use it a lot. And I just think it's another tool. It's like anything else, you know, you can make the argument, God, we're not drawing on linen anymore. The profession's going to be ruined, you know. The Xerox machine, it's going to ruin the profession because you don't draw anymore, you know, and it's just a tool. So tools need people who think behind them. Tools don't do the work for you. They just help you produce it in a way, so you can't eliminate the person, or you can't separate them from the tool, but it allows you to do amazing things, you know. And I remember one time talking to a client on the phone, right, and she was talking quite a bit, and she was telling me about her office. She wanted to remodel, so I went online while I was on the phone, and there was a picture of her facade. You know, it was a city building. So while I was on the phone, I just downloaded it, put it in Photoshop and stuff, and I did a rendering of her facade in 15 minutes, and I emailed it to her while we were on the phone. And I said, open your email. And she opened it, and it was like silent. And she was like, all of a sudden realized, she's like, that's my building, you know? So it's a great tool, you know, the tool is great. Things like BIM software are great, but still, if you're not managing them, they don't do the work for you, you know? So it's just another tool, and it's a tool that's allowed us to do explore new worlds, so to speak, and I've always embraced that, and I don't think it's something to be fearful of. Well, what I would recommend is for the person to, I think the best architects are the ones that follow their heart or what they want to be, you know, and I think the profession is really big and wide open. So I would say there's going to be a lot of people out there telling you what to do, telling you, you know, what you need to be, design buildings. But if you're good at, you know, numbers, you should be looking at project management and really dive into it. So don't be dissuaded or persuaded by other people who tell you what to do. It's a big field. And so I always tell my students to embrace what you love, you know, and don't worry about some of the other things. So I think that's really the most important thing, is to pursue what you really, really like, because our profession has a lot of opportunities that architects haven't yet capitalized on. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I sort of started my practice from scratch. I worked for some very well-known architects. I worked for Paul Rudolph in New York. I worked for Holt Hinshaw Fow Jones when we were winning all the PA awards, and I just wanted to do my own thing. But with that, I really started all over. So it's taken me 20 years to become an overnight success, and I've had a lot of struggles, and I still do. Even to this day, I practically beg my clients to hire me, and because it's a world of specializations for clients. Like if you want to do a hospital or a museum or whatever project, they want to know how many have you done. So I've not really done much of any of those, but I've done some of all. And so it's a lot of work to build the practice when you just start on your own. But if you stay with someone, you're cutting years off your sort of life in architecture, so to speak. So if someone has 20 years of experience, you can jump into that and ride that and help build that and change it. But it has struggles too, because then you're trying to change the way people have been used to seeing that person do work. So I don't know, it's a personal thing. For me, it was just, I didn't know any other way but to just start from zero.